Hello everyone, this is Jasmina, and in this video I'm going to talk about the 2024 Feng Shui recommendations. Now this is for the full year. The year in Feng Shui begins on February 4th of this year, 2024, and will end on February 2nd of 2025. And these recommendations given here only apply to these above dates. So if you're listening to this before February 4th, don't act yet. Wait until this date and then you act. Now, period 9 also starts on February 4th, 2024, and will be in place for 20 years. So we will be leaving period 8 in a very short time. And that can make a difference in your general house's feng shui. I have several videos on period 9 on my YouTube channel. Just search period 9 or P9. Sometime it will be abbreviated, other times it won't. And it will tell you whether or not your house is good still in period 9. Many houses are fine and it doesn't hurt them. Actually, many period 8 houses are fine in period 9. And there are some period 7 houses that are great in period 9. So you just have to, and I think it's true of all period 6 houses, or also can be great in period 9. So don't worry about this too much. Take a look at this first before you decide to change. And of course, if you decide to change, you have to look at what your new chart would be. So, just don't change your house to period 9 just because you think it'll be better, because it might not. So here are the annual afflictions for 2024. We have the Grand Duke in Southeast 1, which is with the dragon animal sign. Now, of course, 2024 is the year of the wood dragon. We don't care what element it is, but the dragon is the animal sign, and the Grand Duke is always with the animal sign. And the year breaker is always opposite, so it's whatever clashes. So it's Northwest 1, and it's with the dog. Now, most of the time, if you do not have a dog in your chart, the year breaker doesn't affect you. Some people may be affected, but most people are not. And then we have the 3 killings. Now, the 3 killings is 3 adjacent animal signs. And the robbery Sha part of the 3 killings is in Southeast 3, which is with the snake. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean real robbery, but if you have a door or a window here, before you go to sleep or before you leave the house, it would be a good idea to check to make sure it's locked, because that might be where someone gets in. Now, this robbery just basically means losing money. It could be you just drop some money somewhere. It could be that you get into some kind of lawsuit. It could be anything like that where you might lose some money. It doesn't mean violent robbery, but it could mean a break-in to your house when you're not home. Anything like that. Now, the disaster Sha is in South 2, which is with the horse. And this can be anything: illness, loss of money, problems with relationships. So it could be your boss, problems even with your boss. So it's not just in the house. So this is a pretty important one these are the ones you don't want to disturb. That, the annual afflictions can be quite nasty. Now, the least nasty one is the annual 3 killings, which is in the Southwest 1, which is with the goats. This one will be small problems. So if you're going to have to disturb something, this is the one you would disturb. And it would be okay to do that. It'll just be small problems. And then you have the 5 yellow, which is a pretty serious one. It's in all of the West. And so it will encompass the rooster and the 2 adjacent non-animal subsectors. So it's all of the West. And this one is the easiest one to cure. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Now, the best thing to do here is not to activate these places. So no construction, no renovation in these areas, no digging outside. Of course, if you're digging inside, that's construction. So, don't like plant a tree in that sector, in any one of these sectors. Now, if you've got a garden there, you can still garden because you're not really digging down. You're just disturbing the top part of the soil. And if you do it every year, it's not activating it. It's part of the normal routine and it doesn't make anything worse. You do want to avoid loud noises, especially continuous loud noises. So no loud music, don't work out in one of these locations. Don't play, you know, play the drums or anything like that. Practice music that usually is too loud. But you don't even want to nail something into the wall, like a nail for hanging a photo. There are those sticky strips by 3M, whatever they're called. Those you can use in place of nails. Now, there are times you can do all of these things, but you need to use the sun and moon arrival dates, which I do give out every month. So there are times when you can do this. And that's important if you need something that's not urgent. You can do, if you wait for these dates, you can do it, especially something like construction. If it's like a water leak and it's an emergency, get it fixed. Then you have to mitigate the activation. But you don't want to have a water leak keep leaking because it will be a disaster. It will make much more damage than if you take care of it right away. Now I have some videos. One of them is more ways to mitigate the 3 killings, which are these 3. So if you happen to have to activate one of these 3, you want to read this or listen to this, and you will understand how to mitigate those. The 5 yellow is the only one you can truly cure. The others you're only mitigating. And you want to do that with 60 kilograms, which is technically 122 pounds, but I just rounded up, of metal. The metal can be any kind of metal, any kind of object. If you don't have like maybe a table made out of metal that may be almost this weight, the easiest way to get to this weight is by cheapest way, I should say, maybe not easiest. The cheapest way is to buy some weights for weightlifting, but you have to be able to see metal. If it's coated, if it's painted or has like a rubber coating, because some of them do for comfort, that doesn't work. You have to be able to see the metal. And that goes for a table, that goes for a sculpture. You have to see at least a little bit of the metal. So, but you can do whatever to get this amount of metal. Now, if you have to disturb either the Grand Duke or the Year Breaker because of like an emergency situation, then you can watch this video, Issues with Main Doors and Ranges in Animal Sign Subsectors. This one talks about how to deal with it if you have a door or a range that's in your animal sign, basically. You can use the same things to mitigate activations. And I do have a separate video, I think it's called Mitigating Activations of the Annual Afflictions, something like that. You can also watch that. It does talk a little bit more about dealing with the Grand Duke and the Year Breaker. Of course, it also talks about this, but I have that separate video about the 3 killings, and the 5 yellow is easy. So this is the annual Flying Star chart for 2024. Again, that's February 4th, 2024 to February 2nd of 2025. And these 4 locations can be problematic. The rest of these locations are good, so don't worry about them. And you can have a star 2 in your natal chart. In fact, you will have at least one. Wherever that is, it's no longer an illness star, and that's true whether or not you have a special formation, especially an activated one. Whether or not it's activated doesn't matter. Star 2 in period 9 is timely. In your natal, that is your regular flying star chart. And That's the one that doesn't change. That's why I'm calling it natal. Of course, you can change it if you change the period of your house, but that's a big deal. Anyway, it is no longer an illness star. It actually becomes a wealth star. So wherever you have star 2 as a facing star in your house's flying star chart, that's a good place to move your office to because it is now become a wealth star. But wait until February 4th before you do that. Now, there are many masters that say as an annual star, star 2 is still an illness star. I'm a little skeptical about that. I think it should be timely because 2 becomes timely. Maybe it's not timely enough. But they also do admit it's probably not going to be quite such a bad illness star. That it still causes illness, but maybe not as bad as it was. But that's talking about the natal chart mostly. Now, if we talk about star 7 here in the south, there's again, it's issues with robbery, and that could be lawsuits, just losing money, dropping some money somewhere. And the cure is water. But remember, this place also has the 3 killings, the disaster 3 killings in the south too. So that's pretty significant. And moving water tends to be very activating. So that would not be good for the 3 killings. So if you're going to put a water cure here, it has to be in South 1 or South 3. And in general, I wouldn't recommend an aquarium, even if you put it into these 2 areas, because it's still pretty activating, because it'll have a pump and that moves the water fairly quickly. A better solution here would be a fishbowl with at least 2 living fish, and if one dies, you replace it. So you always have at least 1 living fish, let's hope. And then you also want to have some greenery in there, so live plants, so that they have oxygen, and that ought to keep the fish alive longer. And this can be used instead. Now, if let's say this is a guest room, as long as you have no guests this year, you're good. You just don't use that room. If you don't disturb it, the 3 killings won't be activated. So, but not everybody has a separate room that they can't use. I mean, that's kind of rare. Most of the time, guest rooms are used for other things too. And many people don't even have guest rooms. Now, if this is your kitchen, you really need this because the kitchen has a lot of activity, and you will be it will try to activate the 3 killings. As long as you don't do a lot of extra cooking than normal, it should be okay. So don't learn to become a chef this particular year if your kitchen's in the south. And you definitely need a water cure, though, if your kitchen's in the south. Just put it in South 2 or South 3. As long as it's not right next to your range, your stove, you'll be okay. Now, star 3, here in the center, is issues with arguments. And because it's in the center, it has an effect on the entire house. So this year, there may be more arguments. Now, the cure is the fire, because this is a wood star. The normal way to use fire is you light a candle and you turn on a salt lamp, and the salt lamp needs to be in the relatively close, like within 6 inches or so, or 6 inches to a foot of the candle. And you light a candle, you first light it, then you turn on the salt lamp, and then you leave the candle burn for at least a minute. There are small 10-minute candles. If you can spare 10 minutes, let that 10-minute candle burn, but don't leave the candle unattended because you can burn down your house that way. If it's a 10-minute candle, it'll go out by itself. But otherwise, if you have to leave earlier, just blow the candle out. You only need about a minute to activate the salt lamp. And the salt lamp has some special properties that a regular lamp does not. That's why it's recommended. And if you can spare the time, another 10-minute candle, or at least 1 minute every week is a good idea to re-energize the salt lamp. If you miss a week, it's okay. And if you go away on vacation, you can turn them both off. You know, the candle's not lit, the salt lamp can be turned off. Because you're not in the house, it can't affect you. When you come back, you restart it with the candle and the salt lamp. So that's the easiest way. Now, if you're okay with leaving the lamp on while you're gone, the salt lamp on while you're gone, it's okay too. You can leave it on, you know, as long as you feel comfortable doing that. Now, star 5 is a pretty bad star. It can lead to any kind of misfortune, but fortunately, that's the one you can cure, and you cure it with metal, and you already did that when you cured the annual star 5, the 5 yellow, because that's what the 5 yellow is. It is where the annual star 5 is. Now, star 2, I do think it has possible issues with illness, especially this year, because it actually has both one part of the 3 killings, and it has the Grand Duke here. So it could be quite bad if this gets activated. So this year, especially this year, I would recommend you cure it with metal, the same 60 kg, 130 pounds of metal in this southeast sector. And metal doesn't activate, so it can be in any part of this. You don't have to worry where you place the metal in here, like you do in the south. Southeast, any place, metal never does anything. Now, fire and water can activate things, but there's no annual affliction in the center, so you're okay. You have the annual affliction in the south, and that's why I recommend a fish bowl rather than an aquarium. And you cannot have it in south too, because that's quite dangerous. If you have a kitchen there and your sink is in south too, it's okay, because you use your sink regularly. It's the extra activity that could possibly cause problems. So that's it. I'd like to thank you for watching. Hopefully this will be useful to you, and you will have a good year in 2024. But if you have any questions, you can email me here or leave a comment. And that's basically it. Thank you again for watching.